I'm thinking this might be the best way to do it, and that is just get your first two pieces glued up and clamped in and let them dry thoroughly, and then go ahead and do all three of the other pieces all at once, now that you got the shape all formed and something solid to clamp it to. We'll see. So one of the things you want to pay attention to when you're doing this is the grain, of course, and one end of these has obviously poor grain, and so you want to avoid that. I'm going to try to get all three pieces on at once, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to use a lot of glue here, so this will be about, I'm going to do 5 passes. I think it'll hold 5. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And of course, the part A comes out much quicker, so make sure you run it back. Make sure you keep the bead about the same thickness as you did part B. And of course, that goes back and forth pretty fast. But doing it that way, these, and I check it all the time to level. Of course, you got to wait for this stuff to come all down, but my usage is almost exactly 50-50 every time I check it. But see what I did? I automatically just started clamping everything without even thinking about it. I'm all done now. I've got to put these next 2 pieces on and unclamp all these. So I think I'll just leave that dry. I think I'll just keep doing this. Okay, there's only one issue with that, and that's that I mixed a huge pot of glue. I don't want to waste it. The glue's too expensive, and I hate it. So I'm going to try to glue these two up together and get them put on that. Well, it's all glued up, or these 2 pieces are glued up. Now the fun part is unclamping that, putting that over it and reclamping it. We'll see how that goes. Well, that's 1 wingtip bow down and 1 to go. All right, back to this here back corner here. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this here up. So I'll need to get a spacer right here, which is a 1/4 inch, or just use a piece of rib cap. We'll just clamp it over there. Today's going to be a beautiful day for flying, supposedly. So, started with that wingtip bow about, probably 4:45ish. So, got a couple of hours, had a couple hours leading up to when I can head out to go prep for flying. But it's a lot warmer this morning. It's 28 degrees out, so going to be a lot. Don't have to warm the engine up quite so much. I had the hair dryer in it yesterday. It was 18 degrees, so I put the hair dryer in it in the engine bay for a while, and it started right up. Warmed it up a little extra long, and hopefully today it's not as bouncy relative to what it says it should be as it was yesterday. Yesterday, I got out to the airport, and regardless of what it said, them flags were just standing right out there, and I went ahead and took off anyways. I figured, can't be too bad. Well, up at altitude, luckily it was fairly consistent, not real gusty, but when it did gust, it'd throw you around. So, got this glued up, and I glued it semi-heavy. That way I don't have to glue the other side over there, which would be a bit of a hassle. It's always better to glue both sides. Here, this here's easy to get. I'll go ahead and throw extra glue on the bottom side of this. Now what the heck? I got the glue made. Try to put some of it on down here.
Yeah, she works the full day. I thought it was one and a half, but she works the full day.
Now comes the hard part. It's always the hard part on things like this, and that's figuring out how I'm going to clamp it. The main thing I want to do first, though, is to make sure I get it up against the backside here, perpendicular and flush there, and then get this clamped up in there too. There we go. That's all good right there. So, let's see. These little clamps are probably not going to be long enough. Maybe I can get that one there. Oh, that worked good. A little bit tight though, squeezing it up. There we go. And I want to put all the way over. Yep, it's all the way over. Holding it up. All right, so I think I'm gonna be good to go. I think I'm just going to use these clamps here. You know, they got the thin toe. Yep, we're good under there. Turn the clamp around just so the weight of it is over on the other side. It doesn't take much clamping pressure, just enough to bring the two together. And now I'll put something right here to keep that brought up. Well, just one of the same clamps. Yeah, I'll try this. I don't want to pull it away. Let's see. I guess you didn't need to leave this run that long, but sometimes I think it's, I just remember whenever I was first building, and it was like, okay, things that were so obvious to me now, and so simple, you just think about it for a second and say, okay, I'll do this. And, but when you're first starting out, you don't know enough to know what you don't know, and therefore you want to be extra careful, which is good. And once you get a lot of experience, then you can just think about it for a second and use your past trials to figure it all out. Now you want to get this here clamped right here, down in here. It goes on out the end here. Now I didn't necessarily have to get this glue joint here perfect like that. I spent way more time than I needed to because the wingtip bow is actually, this is going to get cut out right along this piece of plywood here. We're going to cut this out after marking the wingtip bow for exactly where it is, and then we're going to fit the wingtip bow in right, the trailing edge of it right in here. And then this here will run right along the wingtip bow. And might put some blocking in it too. But I like to get this done ahead of time so that this here, this is held real straight. Because in the past I've done the wingtip bow and then put these to the wingtip bow. And just in all of the work, all the way around, this here got a little tight, and I ended up having to trim this quite a bit on the inside, and I really don't want to do that. So I got this nice and stiff the way it is. Now I'm going to bring the wingtip bow to this part right here, and I'll leave these clamps the whole time I'm working on it. I'll make sure that there's 1/4 inch blocks in here. Well, on these bitter cold days, first thing I do when I open the doors, get a hairdryer set on the intake. All right, come on, stay there. Well, it was 20-some degrees, about 24 degrees colder this morning when I flew. So I don't think I'm going to put the hairdryer on it. I'm just going to, but I am going to change the spark plug. I haven't changed it in about 10 hours, which is quite unusual for me. So I'll do that and I'm going to take off. So usually I just turn the fuel on as I'm pushing it out, and by the time I'm done with the front end pre-flight, then I can go ahead and start it up and let it warm up while I finish the pre-flight, and it'll start right up. But I think it's time for me to invite my wife out to the hangar. Wait, did I say that out loud? Well, sometimes if you want to fly, you gotta expect a little bit of mud at our airstrip. Guess I better bring the spray bottle back. I flew about 42 miles all the way up to Albion and then down to my little airstrip and back.